hallelujah. Ooh, my goodness. Y'all can sit down. You can bring your chairs up closer if you like, if you're not sitting on the bench. And we got a lot of room right here in the front. We want to have our study, and we realized that the time was getting late on us. But the sun was coming out. So we're like, wait a minute. It's dark in the day and the sun come out at night. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Oh my goodness, in Louisiana. Whoa. It's a blessing for us to be here in the South. And when they say South, they mean like below sea level South. where the graves are on top of the ground. South. You all please gather around. Tomorrow at
Jaden over here.
You said 1 o'clock. All right. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Hool and I are going to be teaching Hebrew lessons. We're going to be teaching biblical Hebrew. We're actually going to show you some tools on how to learn Hebrew. And you know, we can't teach the lessons without actually giving you some Bible, because that's what it's all about. We're learning biblical Hebrew. So while we learn, you're also going to be getting insight to verses of the Bible and seeing things, I promise you, seeing things the way you've never seen them before, the way you've never been taught them before. And we're going to be doing this tomorrow. There'll be a men's group and a women's group. It'll be at the home of Netanyahu. His address, we're fortunately not going to announce it all over the world because we live stream it, but it's right there on the board. So if you would like to attend, write the address down, and we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. These meetings that Hool and I have been holding, these meetups that have been on Sunday, the day after, there's some people who were here who have attended some of those. And they'll tell you they have been just absolutely fantastic. When we get together, we actually dig into the Word. And we dig into the words of the Word and find definitions and learn how to put things together. And it's just a beautiful time. So make sure if you want to come out to that, you can do that on tomorrow. It is another potluck. So if you brought food today, just bring some tomorrow. And we're going to all eat together. And there's already a gang of us over there, so we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful good time. All right, the second thing I want to do is, I always forget to do it, and I try not to forget. Brother reminded me, I was walking across the bridge, he said, Lori, are we taking up any support for the art? And yes, we're taking up support for the art. So if you all have, if the Most High is moving on your heart to help us, by the way, Brother Ty, tell our Rabbi for driving all the way from the East Coast. Hallelujah. From the East Coast all the way down here to be with the family. We met not too long ago during Sukkot, and that is a good brother. And to see him drive all the way out. He's from the Bronx. No, where? DC. Yeah, I knew it was East Coast somewhere. And when he said he was coming all the way down there, man, that's a long drive. And so appreciate you. And all of you who made the sacrifice to come out and to be with us today, whether we met for the first time just now or whether we met before, Toda Rabbi. The work that the Ark does, most of you already know because you've watched us, but you also were here today and you see that we put in a lot of work and a lot of labor to have these events and to help wake up Jacob. And if you want to help us do that, you can give tithes and offerings. You can give just a donation. however you want to give. I know a lot of people say, well, in the tithe, and they go into a whole lot of stuff. A tithe is another word biblically for tenth. It's just a tenth part. And the idea is to say, every time God gives me something, I'm going to take a part of it and set it to the side for the work of the kingdom. It's not necessarily dependent on having to live in Israel. Because when it was instituted, the people were in a wilderness. Okay, I'm all by myself. You know what I'm saying? So the idea is, however we want to support the work, we really appreciate it. We just ask that when you give, please give from a pure place. Let it be from a pure place in your heart. Because what we're trying to do is from a pure place. As we give out, we would like, if we're going to receive, we want to come from a pure place. So that working together, we'll be able to accomplish it. Who and I, no way, no how, could afford to go all over the world and do the things we do. Just her and I. It is the support of people like you that make this possible. This meetup here, we didn't charge nobody nothing. No, because that's, first of all, that's stupid. We're not ever charging for the gospel. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's not the point. But the idea is we're here because people were generous to give. So we want to go to the next place, and the next place, and the next place. Now, don't forget, we also have we have 2 major events every year in California that you're welcome to. Some of y'all have been to our Sukkot. If you've been to our Sukkot, say hallelujah. Oh, there's a lot of y'all. And then we also have Passover in California. And if you've been to a Passover, say hallelujah. Wonderful. So it's these things are done by your support. Band, y'all got a song while people give? Okay. There's already a bag?
Right next to you.
Oh, the green bag. That's funny. It's not on stage. Come on. And band's gonna play it and give you guys a chance to give. And those that are watching online, if you want to give, you can go to www.awakeningremnant.com. And after we give to support the work, we will get into our Bible study for this afternoon. Abba Yah, everything that we have it because of you. And when we come to the time of sharing and giving and supporting the kingdom, we first of all are grateful and thankful that we even have anything to share. And I pray that you will not only take what we give and use it for the kingdom, but that you will fix our hearts so that we can be even more generous when it comes to the work of the kingdom. We know that just giving a prophet a glass of water in the name of the prophet means that we receive the prophet reward. So help us all to understand what it means to support the work of the kingdom. And it's for your honor and glory. Hallelujah. Amen. good. Sounds good. Netanyahu and Nehemiah. See, I got it right that time. I don't know why I want to say Naomi all the time. Nehemiah have been so gracious. When we rolled up in Louisiana, they told us just, come on by the house. And we have a place for the RV. And when we rolled up, they had everything all laid out and spread out, and making breakfast and dinner and taking care of us like we've been. I'm like, wow, the hospitality in the South exceeds the hospitality in the West, that's for sure. So give them a hand. That's the bass player, his wife. We've been together now for a while, and of course Netanyahu, Yah is using him. He is quickly becoming one of Yah's best teachers. The men got a taste of that this morning, or this afternoon, didn't you, brothers? That brother can teach. Come on, give him a hand. Give him a hand. So we appreciate his mind. What we're going to do today, we're not going to try to dive too deep today because of time, and it is cold out here. But I want to put something on your mind, and then we will get deeper into Hebrew tomorrow if you can make it out. Everybody's welcome, by the way. Y'all come on out. We got room enough for everybody. So just come on out. We'll get deep into Hebrew. But today, I want to,
what time?
1 o'clock. We'll meet at 1. We'll meet at 1 o'clock. It'll be at Netanyahu's house. The address is right there on the small board. Okay. I do want to show you something before we go. And it's exciting to me. I hope you like it too. I've been studying the Bible a long time, and every now and then I'll come across something that, even though I've read it like 100 times, I'll read it again and be like, oh, kind of, right there, he's saying so. Today is one of those times that I came across in my study because I came across this in my study, Matthew chapter 6. Matthew 7, verse 6. Matthew 7, verse 6. Lauren, we running? We rolling?
Yes.
Oh, well, let's do this. We got to tell the whole world Shabbat Shalom from Louisiana. All right, to the 12 tribes of Israel that have been scattered worldwide. We are representing from the wonderful state of Louisiana. We want everybody under this, what is this thing called? Under this pavilion to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom!
Spin that camera, let everybody see how many of y'all came out. My goodness. One more time. Say Shabbat Shalom and wave to the whole world. To the 12 tribes of Israel worldwide. We are so happy to be coming from this state. We thought we was going to freeze to death, but we're not. The sun came out just long enough for us to warm up. We've experienced all 4 seasons in 2 days. But it's been beautiful. We've had a chance to see this beautiful city. And we saw so many Hebrews here. And we know that Yahweh is waking us up in this hour. And we appreciate all the work and support that you all do behind the scenes to help wake up Jacob. Because when we're not around, we know you're talking to cousins and friends and family about, who we are and whose we are, and coming out of the cults that we were caught up in, the false religions, the false doctrines. We have found freedom because Yah says, he who the Son has set free is free indeed. And you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And so the more we study the truth, the more freedom we're starting to have. Folk cannot just tell us something and we just take it now. We're like, no, I'm going to study that for myself. Matthew chapter 7, I'm doing a series titled, What Did the King Say? Most of y'all, if you've been watching the videos, you know we started in Matthew chapter 1 and we're now in chapter 7 and we're in verse 6 of What Did the King Say? And the reason these messages are going forth to the whole world is because we have entered into a time where it seems to a lot of people that what our king says does not matter. And I submit to you that the only thing that matters is what our king says.
Hallelujah.
It's not about what I say. It's not about what some other camp leader says. It's not about what some pastor says. It's not about what your grandmama said. I ain't mad at your grandmama, but I can't take her word over Hamashiach, the King of Kings and the Master of Masters. He has final say, and whatever he says settles the issue. Whatever the issue is, settles the issue forever. If you are studying the Bible, the Old Testament, let's say, for instance, and say you have a question about one of the precepts, one of the principles, one of the commandments, or even one of the cultural things that we did. And if you're confused about that, and our king speaks on it, once he speaks on it, that's it. All the confusion is gone, because he's going to speak in a way that his children can hear and understand. And so we talked about this idea of righteousness, and we talked about it being the word Zadik. Most of y'all know that by now. And it represents not only righteousness, like doing something correct, but it also talks about doing the correct thing the correct way. And it's very important that we understand that as Hebrew Israelites, that we are not just called to do the right thing. Why? Because that in itself is a leap. Just to get us to do right. But it's not enough to just do right. We have to do right the right way. And so our king, as he begins to bring the children of Israel back on the right path, which is the same word that you hear over and over again in scripture, like he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. When our king gets here, Israel is off, or watch this, they off track, or they're off the path. And so he seeks to then bring them back on the path by telling them about, got you out of here? What is that?
That was a jet.
Airplane? Which one of y'all did something got the helicopters flying low? What our king is seeking to do then is to take a people that were off track and bring them back on track by reestablishing in them what we call righteousness. All right, so righteousness moves from being a concept to actual deeds. Okay, and I'm going to give you these deeds that we're up to where we are. I just want you to write these down as I speak them. The first one that he talked about in doing right is Matthew chapter 6, verse 1, when he says, when we do righteousness, we got to do righteous right. Number one. That sounds funny, but it's true. Number two, when we give, we must give right. Most of us have to get over the hurdle of becoming a giver, period. But it's not enough just to give. You have to then give according to Torah, which is righteous giving, which means not to be seen of men. To be like a hypocrite. Then it talks about praying. We have to pray right. So it's one thing to say I pray, but are you praying according to the way he tells us to pray, or are you being hypocritical, praying to be seen of men? And of course, we get then the quote-unquote model prayer, which is really the perfect prayer in Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. All right, once he gave us that, our next righteousness is the righteousness of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not something that we just have to learn. Forgiveness is something we do. Yep. And there's a right and wrong way to forgive. We learned that already. Then fasting, that is a righteousness. Write that down. That's number 6. Fasting. Every follower of Yah ought to have built into their life a period or periodical fasting. But you don't fast to be seen of men. You don't fast and dishevel yourself so everybody can say, "Oh, look at you. You must be real holy." No, that's not what he said. You basically fast to deny yourself. We talked about that kind of already. All right, then of course he talked about our treasures. That's number 7. how we save our money and we save our resources. It's not enough just to be someone who saves. First of all, Hebrews got to start saving. See what I'm saying? We're not even doing the righteous act in a lot of cases, let alone doing the righteous acts right. But saving is something we have to do, and we got to make sure that our treasures, that we don't put all our treasures on earth. All right? Then we learned about having a single eye. And that eye represents an eye that's functional or tov versus a dysfunctional eye that is considered ra, or what the Bible says evil, which is dysfunction. Matter of fact, all of these righteousness have a functional side and a dysfunctional side. Okay, then there's serving. He says you can't serve Yah and Mammon. Make sure that you check and see what's motivating your life. Is it Yah or is it money? Is it the demon of money or the demon of wealth? It's really the demon of greed. Who tells you what to do? Then, of course, seeking. We have to learn how to seek right, and that's the kingdom, number 10. And then we are told, which I spoke on this last week, number 11, is judgment. So he tells us how to have righteous judgment. He didn't tell us not to judge. He said, judge not that you yourself will not be judged. And then he goes on to talk about taking the beam, or what we found out later was a tree, a chopped down tree that's stuck in your eye, trying to get a twig out of somebody else's eye. We learned that judgment means, biblically, it has to do with restoring a brother to Torah. So we have to make sure we're in Torah before we can restore our brother to Torah. So he's telling us how to judge properly. Today, we get a warning about something. So he's going to talk to us today about giving what is holy to dogs and giving pearls to swine. Can we read it? Let's go to that Matthew. Let's get Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. Don't you see this? And like I said, I'm not going to keep you long today because of the fact that we started so late. But I definitely want you to see this because it is incredible. If y'all have it, somebody, let's do it together because it's only one verse. Ready? Okay, begin. Yeah. I only had like 5 people. Everybody. If the world want to hear the whole group read together. Come on, let's do it louder. Come on.
Give not that
there
which
we
is
go.
holy unto the dogs. Neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn them into
Woo. He tells you not to give that which is holy unto dogs. Then he tells you, do not cast your pearl before swine. And from those two admonitions coming from our King, I want to speak today from this subject. Simply this. It's not for them. Write that down. That's my whole message. It's not for them. Repeat after me. Say, it's not for them. It's not for them. It is not for them. That which is holy is not for dogs. And pearls are not for pigs. It's not for them. So don't give it to them. If you do, he has it in the Bible. I don't have to make this up. He says, if you do it, this is what they're going to do. What does it say in the text? To the first comma, they will do what? Number 1, if you disobey him, you're going to learn something about them dogs and hogs. Number one, they're going to trample it under their foot. And number two, this is the part that people forget about when they read the line and when they read the verse. Come on. And they will, I need that turn. They're going to turn again and do what? That word is to kill you. They're going to kill you. To tear you apart. No one can get torn apart and live. So our king is taking this to like a really deep level. Most of you all think about dogs as little sweet puppies in your house. It's not what the dogs are here. We didn't have dogs like that in the Holy Land. Our dogs worked as sheepdogs, and they lived outside. That's just the truth. It was the Europeans who started domesticating the wolf, because that's really what he is. And through domestication, they made him into this little harmless little, thing. And so you're thinking of a dog as something cute, but to the Hebrew mind, that dog is a scavenger, and they roamed in packs. They were not friendly. People feared a pack of dogs. Why? Because they could attack you and ultimately tear you apart. This word pig is the same thing. This word swine, you might want to write that down also. This swine is not a domesticated pig. This is a boar. And in the Holy Land, there was a lot of wild pigs. It's not like today where everybody had, like this big old fat slow pig with no tusks. That's not the picture. But by the way, that pig will turn into a boar with tusks if it get out the pen. I want you to know that. And of course, we know that the swine, he said that thing will turn on you. You give it pearls, it'll turn on you, and it'll kill you. Very, very interesting. And I was asking the Most High, what were you really warning us against? And he's warning us here concerning a waste of resources. Look at the text. It's a waste of precious resources to take that which is holy and give it to dogs, or that which is valuable like pearls and give it to a swine. You know why? It ain't for them. Come on, say it ain't for them.
It ain't for them.
Let's do the word holy. It's very simple. I said I'm going to stay surface because we got to get out of here. First word is holy. What's the Hebrew word for holy? Kodesh. And what does Kodesh mean? Set apart. So here we have to insert, where we see the word holy, the word set apart. Give not that which is set apart. So the question is, set apart for who? See? That's why we got to discover it. Set apart for who? Turn to Mark chapter 7. Turn to Mark chapter 7, verse 27. Come on, everybody. Mark 7:27. You see it? If you have it, I need somebody to read it for me. We can just get one reader. Stand up, read it loud because the whole world got to hear you. Huh? Mark 7:27. Let me make sure I got the right one. All right, now, I'm in Louisiana, and I barely heard you. Use your outside voice, man. Uh-huh.
Said to her, let the children first be filled.
There you go.
For it is not meet to take the children
So do you see here, that which is holy, or the word set apart, we're going to find out is bread. It's food. And the picture that every Hebrew would have received when the master said that, when it says, don't give that which is holy unto dog, first thing they would think about is, what is Kodash? What has been set apart? And of course, when we start talking about nationally, we start talking about the offerings that were brought into the temple that were set apart on the altar. Now, why were those offerings brought in the first place? They were brought into the temple in order primarily to feed the children of Israel. They were from the tribe of Levi, who did not receive the land like every other tribe. Their inheritance was the temple. So therefore, when you set aside food to bring it to the temple, you were not supposed to then spend it on the... You weren't supposed to spend it on the way, because you got some children of Yah depending on that in order to live. Did y'all get it? So watch this. When they offered sacrifices, Yah was, well, there was a few that he did, but for the majority, when they would kill the animal and offer the sacrifice, they would not waste the animal. The animal was then divided, and the food was then given to the people who were working in the temple. So they started calling that holy, or Kodash. And because that was holy or set apart, it had to come from the mindset of a father who works hard and brings food into his house, that he brings into the house for the children. How wrong is it for a dad to go to work and get food, bring it in the house, cooking, and the kids is hungry and be like, ooh, Pops, that's smelling good. Mom in there stirring, and Pops in there, and they get it going, and kids sit down at the table, and the daddy whistle for the dog. And the children are hungry, and the dog's being fed. See, y'all already know that ain't right, huh? Biblically, that's an abomination to do that. You don't give what's supposed to be set apart for the children to dogs. Did you catch it? And let me move to the next part. Same picture, father. Because remember, dealing with Hebrews, we had daddies in the house. We had fathers. That's our culture. Removing the father from the average Hebrews house here in America was against our culture. They knew that if they could remove the father, they could weaken the nation. So they exchanged the father for about $630. And the man left, but he would still come back at night through the window because of sex. But they were like, we don't need him though. And as a result, we're weakened. But Hebraically, we had an Abba. And we understood that Abba holds the tent up. He's the strong pole. And so I'm going to use him, and you'll hear me using these terms because they're Hebraic terms. Imagine Abba going out and trading all day long in order to make money for the house. Then, in the process of exchanging goods, he finds pearls, but not just any pearl. These pearls are so valuable, so beautiful, so much luster, that when he looks at the pearl, he sees his own reflection. He's like, whoa, this $5 stuff right here. And he checks his pocket, and he calls his accountant, and he's like, how much do I have? And they say, man, well, you know, in the savings account, man, you may have like maybe, I think about $42,000, and then for your, you know, then you got an annuity for another maybe $15,000 or $20,000. So I mean, probably your whole net worth might be around maybe close to like 100,000. He like, cool, give it all to me. You sure? Dude, you don't understand what I've been seeing today in town. I need every cent. And here he comes bringing it. All right, man, here. And he exchanges it and gets the pearl. And I'm like, whoa. And go home and like, his wife is looking at him like, babe, look. And she's like, so I know it's like worth like 500,000. I got him for 100. I got him for 100,000. It's like $500,000. And she's like, woo, what you gonna do with him? Call a pig. Get the hog. Come on, let's feed it to the hog. Why y'all looking at me funny? Did you just say throw $500,000 worth of pearls to hog? Yeah, that's what I just said. You see how crazy that is? And yet, our people, we are guilty of doing that very thing. Taking the bread out of our children's mouth, giving it to dogs, and taking all of our resources, which is represented in the pearl, and casting our pearls to swine. Not understanding the base nature of a swine and a dog. As base nature, they have a lot of things in common. One, dogs are so greedy that they never can get enough. When you read the scripture, you get to Jeremiah, you're going to discover in Jeremiah around chapter 26, it talks about pastors who have become greedy dogs that can never get enough. Dumb dogs. Then you look at the swine and you see the same thing. An appetite out of this world. As long as you feed the swine, as long as it'll eat. But here's something really gross. Dogs are not good discerners of that which is good or bad. Dogs will eat their own vomit. A dog, I want y'all to hear me because I'm gonna get out of here. But watch this. A dog eating their own vomit is no different than you believing your own hype. Did you hear me? Yeah. So we have this dog and this hog, and the Most High showed me this I'm going to show you. He said, in this parable here, I'm dealing with, and here come my country thing. It's hard for me to say certain words because I'm from the country. But you have a parallelism. Is that all right? Well, let me tell you something. Y'all don't even know. I went by school. A parallelism. And now watch what it does. What it does, it sets two things side by side so that you can see them more clearly. What do we see here in this text? Quickly. Number one, Yah, through Yahushua, is speaking about one side is that which is on the inside, that what goes in. The second thing he's talking about is that which is on the outside, which adorns. So one thing goes inside, the other thing goes outside, and what he's saying is, when it comes to dogs and hogs, they should never get what belongs to the children. Because the food, the bread, the set apart, the holy thing is for the inside. The pearl is for the adorning on the outside. So Yah is saying, listen, a dog shouldn't be eating what's for the children, and a swine shouldn't be wearing what's for the children. Did y'all catch that? It's called a parallelism. In other words, they're side by side. So the question then is, what is the bread that is holy? Turn with me to Matthew chapter 13. I thought this was incredible. Matthew 13, chapter 13, verse 10. Matthew 13, 10. Y'all still rolling with me? Yes. We good? Yes. Matthew, all right. Matthew 13, verse 10. Incredible passage. I'll read it. And when and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou, or why do you speak unto them in parables? That's the question. Because in chapter 13, he's telling a parable of a sower who went forth to sow. And he's getting ready to tell some more parables. But they had a question. They were like, we want to know, why are you speaking in parables in the first place? Why don't you just talk? Look what he says. And he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries. In other words, not them. It's given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it is what? Not given to them. Because what? It's not for them. It's for you.
Hallelujah.
Please hear me, Israel. Part of your frustration in this walk is you trying to convince people who they are based on scripture and why you're walking the walk you're walking. Because they don't get it. And you can't understand why they can't get it. So you just figure out all you got to do is study harder, read more, pray more, figure out a different way to do it, watch some more videos, and you're going to call them back up and say, okay, what about this? What about this? And look, you cannot understand how come they can't get it. Oh, I'm going to tell you why. It ain't for them. Pearls are not for swine. Based on the text, the mystery of the kingdom is the food, listen, for the children. Do you remember when the devil, Hasatan, was tempting Hamashiach? And basically, Hamashiach had been fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Basically, the Bible said no food, no water. He came down, he was after a hunger. The devil said unto him, turn these stones to bread. Hamashiach said back to him, man shall not live, come on, by what? But by that does what? And of course that comes out of Deuteronomy chapter 8. So what is the point here? That for us, the set apart holy food that does not belong to dogs is Torah.
Hallelujah.
And a lot of us get upset because we keep, let me tell you something. I did a bunch of research and I'm going to skip all this because of time, but I have a gang of verses that will prove to you that Torah is worth more than that $500,000 pearl necklace. Just Torah itself that everybody has. It's worth more than silver, gold, diamonds, rubies, even your own life. And yet most of us are wasting time, energy, resources, trying to make the dogs like us by throwing them Torah. The dog don't know. What? Are you serious? I'll tell you something. All you're going to do when you throw food, Torah, to a wild dog is make him mad. Because a wild dog, and I'll explain that in a moment, a wild dog is going to come up to it, sniff it, act like he's about to taste it, and be like, what you doing trying to give me this? Dogs cannot digest Torah. Dogs cannot receive Torah. Torah repels dogs. Dogs hate Torah. But watch this. The children of Yahuwah love Torah. So you don't take Torah and throw it to the dogs. Now, when we talk about Torah, we're talking about the mysteries of the kingdom. That's what he said, right? He said, unto you is known, is given not to them, but to you. So the mysteries of the kingdom are reserved for his children, you and me.
Hallelujah.
Not for everybody. Because everybody's not his child. That's hard talk, but it's true. Them songs talking about we all his children. That's not true. You're all his creation, but you're not all his children. Based on the king's word himself, some of you all are of your father, the devil. Am I right?
Yes.
All right, I got like these verses, but I'm just gonna keep moving. I want to get out of here. But watch this. Watch this. So then the question is, how do we know a dog or a hog? Okay, glad you asked. Number one, you cannot tell a dog or a hog unless you know how to judge properly. Who are you going to put in the category of a hog and a dog unless you personally have judged that person and that situation? Therefore, we cannot be a people who don't judge if we have to be able to tell who we can give the word to and who we can't. He is putting you in a position of a judge when he tells you, watch this, not to waste his word. Because it's valuable. It's precious. There are two different types of word when it comes to Torah. There is the word for the world. And then there is the word for his children. What is the word for the world? Repent. I sure wish y'all was in the group. That's the word. When we start going outside of the family, we only have one word for them. I'm not sitting here trying to explain Deuteronomy 28 to somebody who have not repented. What's the point? I'm over here digging all up in Isaiah. Let me show you Isaiah. Let me show you. And the whole time I'm talking, they get more and more mad. Cussing mad. Fighting mad. I ain't calling you mad. I ain't coming by your house no more. Don't hang up the phone on you. All that kind of crazy. Why? Because the number one call for those on the out is to repent of their wicked ways, denounce their gods and their false ways, right? Yes. And follow Yahuwah. There is a misunderstanding about evangelism in the Bible. I need to share this worldwide. Y'all learn that in church, and it is marketing. That's what evangelism is. It's marketing. And that's why when they go out to evangelize, they never tell the whole truth. They just say stuff like, if you want to be saved, just bow your head right now. And then ask white Jesus to come into your life. And you'll be saved. That is not the Bible.
Don't forget about sowing the seed, brother.
Yeah, and then you got to sow a seed to the ministry. No, that's what it is. It's marketing. They don't tell you about dying for the cause. They don't tell you that we're the true Hebrews of the Bible, and unless you get with them, you can't get with him. Hallelujah. That ain't in the text. That's right. They don't tell you about the conspiracy to hide Yah's people. They don't tell you about the being scattered to the four corners of the world. They don't tell you about the curses. They have none of that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, they say some cases don't even talk about sin. Just wait till they get in first. Really? That's not the way our king did it. Man, it seemed like to me our king was fighting that mindset the whole time he was here. Every time a crowd came, he did something to get rid of them. Remember when he fed them? 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Y'all remember that? I don't have time to go all the verses, but y'all know that's in John chapter 5 and then going into chapter 6. And the crowd showed up. It was a huge crowd. Followed him across the sea. It was like thousands of them. And they approached the master and they was like, the king was like, I don't know why y'all working so hard to get over here. I'm not giving you no more bread. See, in church, they'd have been like, we got to start a food program. Man, if we're going to reach like thousands of people and they're going to come every day, imagine what we could build if we just give. So we just got to, let's do the math. Okay, bread only costs like 50 cents and a person comes to church. And we get volunteers so they got to pay somebody to pass off the bread. You know what I'm saying? The Messiah was like, I ain't giving you no more bread. And they were like, Moses did it. He said, and everybody ate that bread is dead too, right? Y'all read it. Seems like to me, he made a man on purpose. And the Bible says that from that point forward, they turned and walked with him no more. And then he turned to his own 12. I read it in the Bible. It's around verse 66 of that passage. And said, will you also go away? In other words, I'm not changing my message. And I'm not getting ready to give people free bread just so they can follow me. Because it ain't about that. They're not willing to eat my flesh and drink my blood, which means, watch this, which means if they are not willing to internalize my words, he said, it's my words that I speak unto you. They are life.
Yes.
He said, would you leave? He said, in other words, y'all can get to stepping. Yeah, you know, and of course people was like, you do know it. To whom shall we go? Like, we're not ready to stop everybody. We done already kicked over Christmas trees and busted Easter eggs and took the paint off our little nephew's faces and stuff. We can't go back. We stuck. You got his words of eternal life. So, you see the marketing technique that he used. I mean, the evangelism that the king did was not this marketing that churches do.
Right.
I'll give you another. Remember one fellow said, hey, I'll follow you right now. And the master said, oh, well, you do know like foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but I don't have a place to live. And he was like, oh, well, I ain't coming to you. Another fellow said, I'll go, but first let me bury my dad. Now, a good pastor must be like, well, you know, that's honorable, and we'll wait for you. Go on and bury your pappy and come on follow. Why? Because burying pappy means you get inheritance.
Right.
And when you get some inheritance, that means we're going to get some more money. So we'll wait right here for you to get back. The Messiah was like, well, you listen, we out of here. Let the dead bury her dead. Or let the dead bury their dead. You come follow me. He didn't come either. My point is this. Evangelism that's been taught worldwide is unbiblical. It's a pagan form of marketing. Yahushua would say stuff like, if you're not willing to die, don't even come. If you're not willing to die for this, don't even come. As a matter of fact, you need to practice dying every day. Like every day. Every day. I know I'm a little rough around the edges. I have to be careful of that because I got our daughters and my wife surrounded by. I have to watch that rough side of me. But I do though. I take that literally. I wake up every day on the edge. Is this the day I'm gonna have to? Today I'm gonna have to cut somebody? Is this the day I have to shoot somebody? Is this it? Is it over? Is it? Is my last day? I always tell myself, just don't go out like a punk. Because we in this unto death, right? I just can't have my babies and my grandbaby here. I can't have her be like, man, Grandpa went out like a sucker. No, when I'm fighting and hollering Yahuwah at the same time. All right, but I was talking about this evangelism thing. That's where I was going with it. So when we tell the quote unquote gospel, really that's not a good word. The word is not good news. The word is just news. The Bible's not really concerned whether you feel it's good or bad. But it's just the news. And what we are to tell the world is just the news. But when you put good news on that particular word in English, it means we can't say anything that's bad. Because now you've turned it into bad news, and a person will say, oh, you didn't preach the gospel, you just told people bad news. Listen, bad news to you might be good news to me. Why? Because when we study Torah, and we see that our king is coming, the news of his arrival is only good or bad based on what side you on.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yes.
So when we talk about not casting pearl before swine, that does not mean we don't tell everybody the news. The pearl that he's talking about is the mysteries of the kingdom that we are unfolding inside the house. Because if you start telling people the mysteries of the kingdom that we're uncovering, you become a target. Wait a minute, you the children of Israel?
Yes.
And once they do the research, you want to stop that. You're anti-Semite, you're a cult, you're this, you're that. You're like, no, man, I'm just, hey, it's right in the Bible. It tells us who we are. Man, give us our color, nationality, talk about our hair locking up, everything is right here in the script. In the script that they gave us while we was here. But they never expected for us to uncover it. One of our problems is we're trying to get the dogs to understand it. One of our issues of frustration is we got these beautiful pearls that's worth more than money, and we keep laying them on the necks of pigs and swine. And what is that all about? While neglecting the very children of the kingdom. Poole and I have this thing, because we've all been through that phase. We had to come to a conclusion. We said, some people just ain't gonna get it. Can y'all repeat after me and say, some people just ain't gonna get it? Touch the person next to you. I know this sounds like I'm taking y'all back, but touch somebody and tell them, some people, because you need to be encouraged with this, just ain't gonna get it. Now let's go back to my theme. Tell them, because it ain't for them. My mama was up into English, and she's on the other side now. But if she was here and heard me have a subject with the word ain't in it, she'd be like, it's not ain't. But I'm using it for emphasis. It's not for them. It ain't for them. It's for you. It's for you. All right. The word for dog, kaled, is a very interesting word because it starts off meaning a four-footed animal. But this animal is unclean. And the word that we get in English when we use kaled toward a human, the idea is that which is contemptible, or that which is an abomination or something that you shouldn't be dealing with. It's a reproach. It's a ravenous beast. So how do you judge a person who is a dog? Now, in our culture, they have given you a definition of a dog. It's a man who sleeps with a whole lot of women. They say, man, he's a dog. But they never say, if she sleeps with a lot of men, she's a bitch. Bitch is a female dog from the country. Stop doing that. That's the term they use in the country. So they never do that. Why? Because once they put in your mind a particular thing, the world does not want you to change what they have defined for you to be a dog. But scripturally, that's not a dog. Scripturally, that's a whore. There's a difference in the scriptures between a dog and a whore. A whore is the one who got a bunch of hoes, or a whore is the one who is whoring, I guess, when I say it the other way. But that's not called a dog. Watch this. In scripture, some of the most religious people in scripture were called dogs. Therefore, you get a verse like Philippians. So when you get into in Philippians, I believe chapter 3, let me click that. Let me get that real quick because I don't want this one out worldwide. I want y'all to hear this. In the book of, it's positive it's Philippians chapter 3. Somebody out there get that while I'm trying to find it. What does it say? There it is. Watch this. Right off the bat, he says, beware of dogs. He ain't talking about somebody sleeping with women. Right? So in our culture, that's not a dog. They told you that was a dog. That's not a dog in our culture. In our culture, this dog here, that this term is a contemptible person. But this dog here is of the circumcision. In other words, he's in the family and he's holding the Torah in contempt. And the king said, beware of them people. Just because a person is a child of Israel don't mean that they're not a dog. And I'm not talking about just sleeping around. I'm talking about contemptuous and evil. And on the inside, taking what you say only so they could turn it against you and ultimately destroy you. Caleb. And that's what makes the parable, it's not even a parable, the incident I gave you earlier in Mark chapter 7 so interesting, because the king literally says to the woman, the Syrophoenician woman, literally says to her, it's not right to take the children's food, which she knew exactly what that was. Remember, she's not asking for physical bread. She's asking for the privilege of the family, which is healing. Her daughter is possessed. Y'all need to read the story. She ain't hungry. So when he uses this term, she knew what he was talking about. She knew when he said, I can't give to the dogs that which belongs to the children. She knew exactly. She didn't take that as, you're trying to say I'm a hoe. That's not what she was saying. She knew that he meant at this point, you're calling me a contemptible person. And her response, what makes it so powerful, is that she said, I'm not going to argue about that. You got me. Caleb. The only difference is, I'm your dog. This is what she said. What you going to do about the crumbs? She didn't ask to be at the table. She said, I'm under the table. What you going to do about the crumbs that the puppies under the table get? Are you going to pick that back up and put it back on the plate? No. Well, can I at least have that? He was like, girl, your daughter here. Go home. I've never heard a person break it down. That's what he was saying. He was saying, no one in Israel have ever had that kind of insight that you have on what I mean by dogs and child. So what you really are saying is, you belong to me. And I have a responsibility to take care of you because you're under my table. But if she was rejecting him or rejecting the children, she would not have received the healing for her daughter. Did you get that, Tanya? Yes. Why? Because all of the promises in the Bible ain't for the world. It's for you. The mysteries are for you. All right. Last but not least, the word swine, chazir. In Hebrew, chazir is an unclean abomination. You can find that in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7. And we can go, and it's all through there, but you'll find out that this animal is a hypocrite. Oh, okay, maybe nervous. I don't know if we got to fight or what. Okay, so the dog is an abominable animal, and that word literally ended up being contempt. The swine splits the hoof, but don't chew the cud. So the swine represents the hypocrite. Please write that down. The swine is the hypocrite. The swine is the one that's acting like he's in but ain't. I'm clean. No, you're not. On the outside you split the hoof, but on the inside you do not chew the cud. Matter of fact, the swine was such an abomination to Yah. Based on scripture, he told you don't even touch the carcass. When I came to Louisiana, I thought I had moved to Pigville. What is going on down here among Hebrews and pigs? Stop that foolishness. We don't eat pigs. We're told not even to touch pigs. We don't do that. We don't do that. It's an abomination. It's dirty. It's nasty. It eats its own feces. And pigs have no sense of value whatsoever. So therefore, casting pearls before swine, you don't even understand what you're dealing with. That hog will kill you and eat you. A lot of cancer among our people is the physical pig. Once you eat it, it then kills you by eating you alive. They've traced cancer to pigs. Look up the National Something for Health. They got the picture for the article. It's bacon on the stove. They say this is connected to cancer. What does cancer do? It kills a person from the inside. You took it in as something precious. Oh, this is so good. But it went in to kill you. It starts shutting down your organs, shutting down this, shutting down that, clogging up this, clogging up that, until eventually it makes everything go crazy, and then you have stroke, heart attack, and all that, and die. Why? Because you had no business. According to the Bible, it is your enemy. I have a whole message on this called The Swine or the Savior. You ought to read it or listen to it. One of the things I mentioned in that is when the devils were in that man and the king cast them out, they said, suffer us to go into the pig. Yeah, I don't care about the pigs. Yeshua, that's not what he was just like, go. I don't care where you go. You can come out of him though, because he's a child of Abraham, Isaac. He's my child. But them pigs, they went into the pigs, and the pigs killed themselves when the demons got in the pig. Is that the truth? When the people of the city heard about their game being gone, the pigs being dead, they besought Yehoshua, watch this, to leave. Instead of saying, please stay here. We have more demon-possessed people. Please stay here. We have other people here who have other diseases and sicknesses and problems and things. I mean, please don't leave our coast because we've been waiting for someone like you. Man, we don't have to be vexed by people coming up out of graveyards at night or none of that. No, they didn't. All they could see was losing the pigs. And they would rather have their swine than the Savior. They would rather have their pig than the prince. They would rather have their hog than the Holy One. And that's the way it is now. I've heard Hebrews tell me, if I got to give up pigs to go to heaven, I'll go to hell. Which is stupid. The pearls before swine thing is meaning, don't take that which is valuable like pearls and place it on the neck of people who are abominable, people who are hypocritical, people who are greedy, people who are unclean. It's not for them. It's for the mysteries of the Bible, the deep things of the scriptures is for your children. And notice this, the most neglected people are the kids. While we spending all kind of time taking the little valuables that we have, putting it on stuff and on people and working that only have your ill and your hurt in mind. Once again, say, it's not for them.
It's not for them.
Now say this, it's for you.
It's for you.
Look at somebody and say, it's for you.
It's for you.
The reason that you're here today is because it's for you. We don't have to give long invitations. Why? Because everybody came here, y'all spoke to you. I know your testimony before you tell me. I listen to it because I love to hear it over and over again. I never get tired of hearing people's testimony how they woke up. Some people be like, Maury, this is the truth. I went to bed one night and I woke up one morning and something said, you're Israel. I was like, whoa. Yep, I just woke up like, and I thought somebody, you mean I'm Israel? And guess what? From that point on, they started seeking out what Yah spoke to them on the inside. Nobody begging you, nobody playing slow music and telling you, come on, just come. Just no, Yah just like, you're Israel. Or you heard a message or somebody showed you just one verse and you were like, let me look at that again. And next thing you know, all of us have a testimony of how we ended up here under this pavilion on today. Why? Because it's for us, not the heathen, not the rebellious. Philippians said, beware of the dogs. Why? Because they're always out there to cause you harm. And he dealing with circumcision there, and I don't have time to deal with that. So who do we give that which is holy to? Number one, the children of the kingdom, who are also the children of Israel. The most valuable time, the most valuable energy, and the most valuable resources ought to be given to the next generation of the children of Israel. Because they're going to benefit the most from Torah and from the pearls of Torah, or the value of it. When you read Esther chapter 1, and I think either around 3 or verse 6, it's in there somewhere right there. There is a list of some of the things that was in Xerxes' palace and how he decorated. And one of the words there is the word white in English, but it's really not the word white. In Hebrew, it's the word mother of pearl. And so we see that pearl was used in order to adorn the king's palace. In that time, in those places, when you could get a pearl, you were somebody. Why? Pearls wasn't dug out of the ground like silver and gold. In order to get a pearl, you would have to go into the water and dive to get it. And even then, you got to fight a clam. But the fact that the clam even has a pearl on the inside is amazing itself, because it doesn't start off as a pearl. It starts off as an irritation. A foreign matter goes into the pearl in some kind of way, in the form of either a small little piece of sand or something like that, a piece of coral, and it scratches this thing until it decides it needs to do something about it, and it starts to cover that irritation with a thing called lacquer. And the more and more it puts on it, what they call it now the mother pearl, it starts to form a beautiful pearl. So not only do you have to dive in the water to go get it, not only do you have to fight the pearl, and then the back of the pearl got to die, but you might open a bunch of them and none of them be worth anything. So to actually do all that work and discover one that's of value takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and knowing what you're doing. Why would you do all that to then give it to a pig? No, give it to someone who would appreciate it. Give it to someone who can use it to do what? To purchase that which is valuable in the kingdom. When I looked in the Revelation, and I'm done, pretty much y'all been kind. When I looked in the Revelation, I saw something that was incredible. In the city, y'all not gonna believe it, so open the book of Revelation, because y'all not gonna believe it. Open the book of Revelation, and let's get, I have 4 verses, but I think I can get by with just showing you 3. Let's go to Revelation 18. No. I'm going to skip those. But you're going to hear the pearl. Let's go to 21. That's the one. Oh, you should. Y'all got it? It says, and the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was, talk back, one pearl. That's the Bible. Yah values the pearl so much that when it came to putting together the kingdom city, he uses the picture of a pearl for the gate. To show you something, he values that which comes out of pain. He values that effort. He values that ability to take that which is an irritant and to be able to turn it into something that's beautiful. So that when you finally get to the kingdom, you're reminded of that every single time you go in and out of the gates. Because you can say, that was my life. I've been there. I know what that's like. And you can see the representation how to take something that was irritating and turn it into something that's beautiful and valuable, which is the life of the believer. That is what is seen on the outside. Watch this. While the Torah and the mysteries are what's given that put deep down on the inside. If you try to give pigs pearls, they will bite on it and be like, this ain't no peas. This ain't no food. This is not nutritious. This don't taste good. Even and a pig head, you won't eat no pearl. And all you do will make him turn and rend you. You have an enemy, Zion. And we have to be careful that we on purpose are not casting our pearl to swine, especially after the king said it's only going to cause them to turn and kill you. Yes, we must die in this, and we have to give our life for this cause, but we're not supposed to be hastening our death out of stupidity. We're supposed to be wise, even as a serpent, and yet harmless as doves. The greatest work we can do is not trying to throw pearls, that which is holy to the dogs of the world, or to give the pearls to the swines of the world. The greatest work we can do is keep getting together like this and sharing Torah, that which fills the inside, and doing the work, which is the pearl of the outside. Does that make sense? Why? Because it ain't for them. It's for who? One more time, it's for who? It's for us. I hope you got something. I hope this was encouraging. I hope you saw this text with new eyes. That is for us. I have a whole long list, but I'll give those to you tomorrow. But when you start talking about what is for us, I can just give you a few right now. Wisdom. That's for us. True understanding. That's for us. Chen, which is grace. That's for us. And I have another long list. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But if you all enjoyed this, say hallelujah. Hallelujah. And I pray I will encourage you not to give what's holy to dogs or cast your pearl before.